What is a big data application?
The big data application, from our perspective, is an operational application. And what that means is that you have applications where they're basically things where you process a lot of data and you get quick answers to questions. There are lots of those kinds of things, and there are lots of examples of that here today. But what we focus on are operational applications. It's almost as if you think about point-of-sale applications in the relational world. In this world, you're constantly processing petabytes of data all the time, and it's being updated all the time. And you're using it as your main application, the main thing that you do in your business, not something that you episodically ask questions about, like a data warehouse or something like that. It's how you actually run your business. This is particularly true of government applications, but also in the publishing world now, they're starting to have products where in real time people want to ask questions that the answers just appeared in the system within the last few minutes or so. So what that means is there's an ongoing system. It's not some warehouse that's off to the side that you query every now and then for answers. It's something you literally run your business on, and you're asking questions all the time because that's your business, asking questions and getting answers. That's what a big data operational application is to us.
Now, what do those applications yield? Is it access to answers in a faster sense, or is it more answers?
Access to both. Access to answers in a faster sense, more answers, but more important, because there's so much data there, what's happening in this universe is everybody wants to be the CIA of their own marketplace. And so what they're doing is they're dumping in all this data and finding out things about their business and their customers that they didn't know about before, because they're simply able now to do this with all the technology that we're talking about here.
Now, how can a company know it's time to build a data application on top of its data assets?
I think it kind of relates to what I was saying earlier, which is when you find yourself asking these questions repeatedly rather than episodically, you're starting to realize I'm actually dependent on this function now, whereas before it was interesting, it was kind of a reporting function that I do every now and then. Now it's something you're doing all the time. Reporting systems typically aren't the things that users sit in front of all the time on a daily basis. So that's when you start to say, I probably need something that lets me do something on a more ad hoc basis. I don't want to go to IT or my programming department and ask them to generate another report or run another batch job or anything like that. I just want to sit there in front of the thing and interact with the information and discover things and ask questions on an ongoing basis. So when you need to do that, you need to write one of these applications.
Now, do these applications make it easier to extract information and share it across an organization, get past kind of the siloization that sometimes happens?
Yes, but more importantly, they allow you to, aside from the sharing aspect, it's the integration aspect from across the different silos in the organization that's really interesting. There's lots of collaboration mechanisms, even for reporting type applications, but for these kinds of applications, what you're doing is you're basically saying, I've got a mechanism now where I have 16 different IT departments because of various acquisitions I've done over the years, but I want to integrate all the data and actually use it as part of the one company that we now are. And so that's actually the more important direction in terms of the integration.
So last question for you. I know you guys made a big announcement today, is that right?
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We've been working with Hadoop now since the last release of our product, which was in November, MarkLogic 5. And that we pretty much did the traditional thing you do when you're a database company. You put stuff in, you take stuff out of Hadoop, and you make sure that there's a process for doing that. But as we were doing it, we started seeing more and more instances of HDFS out there, excuse me, being used for long-term storage. And if you just project outward the amount of data that's out there and the amount of storage that's going to occur, you say to yourself, well, there's no reason to have all that be operational all the time. But a subset of a big data set can still be a big data set, and that would be the operational part that we manage. Mm-hmm. But the overall amount of data you want to store, you basically never want to delete anything. So just have it in a place that's really good at that and uses commodity hardware that way, and that's Hadoop. That's HDFS. And so from our point of view, we have to get really good at moving data in and out of that in an operational way, not just the batch-oriented way. Right now we use it as an ETL enabler. For example, our ingestion times are cut down by half using Hadoop. That's nice, but what we'd like to do is to have it be kind of a seamless thing. When you write your application, stuff goes in and out of long-term storage, depending on what your application wants to do. And if you just project outward, you're going to have to do something like that, because you can't make everything operational all the time. It's not practical, but it doesn't need to be. But you need to have a pragmatic way of getting the data in and out of that long-term store. And so we look at them and we think, they're 100% committed to open source. And part of the thing that happens with long-term storage is you want the data to be in some format you can get at, and you actually want the code for getting the data 10 years from now, because you don't know what's going to happen with companies or anything else. And so the fact that they're dedicated 100% to open source is really attractive to us. Plus, they can help us out. They're very good. You know, they're all the core committers. And they've been doing this for a long time. I worked with them when I was at Autodesk, and they were at Yahoo. And you know, I found them very good to work with. I just think they're a good partner for us to really make the best use of this technology. And the 100% open source orientation, though, is probably the key driver.
Right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.